Hello everyone, it's Lewis P here. I hope everyone's having an awesome day, night, wherever you are in the world. Today what we're going to be talking about is the Christina Aguilera Masterclass. Now before we get into that, I just want to let you know that there's a link in the description to $90, so you're welcome there. I got your back. Now, before we get really into this, I just want to let you know who I am in terms of singing and all of that. Basically, I'm actually a business person. I'm actually a director for a company, and what this class actually has done, and I'm going to be giving you this type of perspective from it, is actually how it helps you outside of singing. Of course, this class is an absolute killer for singing. I'm sure it'll help so many people out that are, singing in their careers and how they grow and how they ultimately, utilize their voice in order to, have a better life. Now, I'm going to go through a few things, and basically before we get into them, I just want to let you know, obviously there are 23 lessons, you have a lot of hours worth of content, it's super exclusive. She's never done anything like this, which is really cool. That's what Masterclass is really all about. And you can actually see it in my other reviews as well. She's obviously a teacher. She knows what she's doing. She's been at the top records. She knows what she's doing with respect to her voice, how to command it, and how to actually influence others. And I'm sure she does, given she's been in the industry for so long. There are other components of it as well. Obviously, there's a workbook like every single other masterclass, which is great. Obviously, utilize this workbook as much as you can, because as you use it, it has a lot more back-end information whilst you do these classes. So that's great. Now let's get into it. So where did I find the most value in these classes from a personal life and also a business perspective? Now you can probably hear it in my voice right now that I'm a bit more confident compared to my last videos, and there's a reason for that. And that's actually because of this class helping me in many different ways. It takes a bit of time for it to kick in, but it really does, and it's really, really good. So first and foremost, what's really cool is to hear her backstory and understand where her inspiration came from, her family, the old school people she used to listen to. So that was really cool. Warming up. So now what's really, really interesting about warming up is every single time I'm running a meeting at work, I'm always warming up now. I'm always stretching out my voices. I'm not singing, but there are certain exercises she goes through. For example, there's one exercise where you basically, you don't hum, but you make the impression that you're humming to your throat, and that basically warms up your throat for a very large meeting. So for example, I just presented to my entire company like 2 weeks ago about what I was doing, and utilizing this warm-up was actually very helpful for me for that. So that was great. And then protecting your voice as well. I mean, that's not really relevant to someone like me because I'm not screaming. I'm not using every single angle of my voice, so that's fine. Range isn't very relevant to me, but I'm sure this specific course, or this class, would definitely help those that are, trying to hit those high notes or lower notes, because she really goes through those things. And what's really, really cool is when she goes through the student sessions, she actually teaches a student as she goes along, which is actually quite interesting because you see their progression as they're learning and as she's talking to them. These are all actually quite amazing. And she goes through 3 different types of students. One that is loves pop, one that's more simplistic, and obviously the rock guy. And the rock guy is really cool. Really amazing to see his transition into like an amazing artist. And that's not even from as I said, I'm not a singer. So it's just actually cool to see that in someone and how they can progress given you are a student of music and using your voice. That's not really relevant to me. Another part is, what else is really good? Playing with textures and tones, not very relevant for me, but it was still good to hear what her thoughts were on that. So that was good. Duets, I'm never going to use duets, but I'm sure every singer in the universe does duets with, so that's fine. The beat, not relevant to me, but also that actually helped me a bit with my music production. And I should actually give you an example of how I've used, how I can utilize vocals in my tracks. And if you listen to or hear any of my vlogs or any of my other masterclass videos, you actually hear some of those beats with music and vocals. And I hope I've improved there a bit. What's really, really cool is, and if you're a type of a studio person, it teaches you how to actually use your microphone. So now I'm using my microphone in a certain way. I'm a bit closer. It should sound probably a bit more clear and full. Whereas if I stand back, you obviously hear it in a different light, which is cool. And then Obviously, this is really big now. Performance anxiety. Now, every single time you have to go stand up for a speech, a best man speech, or anything along those lines, everyone gets performance anxiety. And she goes through different methods on her way of preventing that performance anxiety. Whether that's, having honey and tea prior to the event to relax her throat, and certain water that she can only utilize. So, for example, she only can drink room temperature water. If it's too cold, it ruins her voice. If it's too hot, obviously that pretty much destroys her vocal cords, apparently. I'm not sure how that works, but these little things, and it's just really good to hear her perspective on how, she reduces the anxiety. And I've applied that to many now, quite a few business meetings that I've gone into with the higher ups, which is really cool. Singing live, obviously I'm not singing live, but I am presenting a lot of the time live, in the office, so that's good. That, helped me out a bit. Basically, to me, it was more about becoming and just, it's true, letting loose, but just being myself in the office and not overdoing it, not trying to overact some things. It's ultimately just about being yourself in that environment. Overcoming mistakes, we're all human. These are things that we all do. It's very normal. And she kind of comes to terms with this. And when you have someone that's, you're literally paying someone to perform and entertain, and you make a mistake, it's a different, and you're at the Super Bowl, for example, that's a very different world from making a mistake in probably an office environment, or just any work environment. There's no issues. If you have any hiccups, it's a non-issue really. But when you're looking at or hearing her perspective on overcoming major mistakes, that's very interesting to hear. Advice to artists, that actually applies to everyone. It's so true. Ignore the haters. That's such a big one, because you're always going to get them. Look at my YouTube channel, for example. I have so many people that just write really bizarre things to me, which I think it's quite funny. But, you're always going to get them. But ultimately, you learn to just ignore them, or you just embrace them because they're quite funny. Self-expression. Obviously, as you grow and develop your voice, you end up eventually expressing yourself in a really nice light, and a really, obviously, ultimately, a personalized light, which is great. And it obviously ends out with her journey, because it actually started with her journey as well, what inspired her, and ultimately where she's come, where she's going, and what she plans to do. And then there's the closing, which was this was actually quite emotional. She goes through some difficult moments in her life, and how she's continuing to evolve as a person and a human, which is really interesting. Otherwise, that's pretty much the overview of the masterclass for Christina Aguilera, and I hope you got some value from it. Remember, guys, if you're interested in taking it, click that link in the description. I got your back. If you really like this content, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate that. And ultimately, guys, I hope you rock out. I hope this class gives you value, and I'm pretty sure it will. Whether you see it within a week or within 2 months, you will definitely see the fruits of taking a class like this. Whether you're a singer, or you're just a normal person in the workplace to progress your career, or you're a senior level executive, you can definitely learn a lot from her, even though she is a singer. So it's really good. Thank you so much for watching. Lewis P out.